Hey guys, so I love this truck so far, but there's one problem with it. Well, it's not really a problem, and I kind of knew this going in, but a heavy duty truck will not fit in a residential garage. It just won't. Most residential garages are about 20 feet deep. Some of them are 21 or 22 feet deep. And when we had this house built, I actually specified a slightly wider garage also. That way, when my wife parks in there and I park in there, we got plenty of room between us to open doors and things like that. So my garage is actually slightly bigger than your standard residential garage around here where we live. Nevertheless, a heavy-duty pickup truck will not fit. It's a little bit too tall, although I could probably figure out how to make that work because there's some adjustment on the garage door. But something that I can't fix is it's also too long. So this truck right here is a short bed truck, crew cab, short box. Even still, it will not fit in that garage. So that's kind of a bummer. I mean, in the summertime like this, the UV rays are really hard on your truck. It's not good for the paint, but more importantly, it will destroy the interior pretty quickly. And I've even seen trucks that have been parked outside for several years where the gauges have faded. You know, like the needles and the font on the gauges have actually faded out in the sun because the sun comes blasting in through the driver's side window, depending on the orientation that you park in. So being out in the sun obviously is not good. The hot summer sun is hard on everything that it hits. But when it's even more of a pain is in the winter time because I leave for work at about 6 a.m. It's still dark. You know, if you go outside on one of those mornings where it's 10 degrees and there's ice and snow all over the truck, and it's like, man, you got to go dig out the ice scraper and start scraping. You know, you're going to be late for work. It's just a bummer. You know, I did that for a lot of years. So I really got used to being able to park in that garage. So what I would do is in the wintertime when I'm not driving the Mustang, I'd take the Mustang and put it in the barn, and then I could park my truck in the garage since that's the vehicle I'm using most of the time in the winter. But this year I'm going to have to do something different. Thankfully, I'm blessed because I have another option. So right down the driveway, about another 150 feet, we've got this detached garage. We call it a barn because we basically just keep our tractor and implements and things in here. But this is a 30 by 30 square, basically. So a heavy-duty pickup truck will fit in here very, very easily. And this doorway is a 9-foot doorway also. So I've got plenty of space to put the truck in here. You know, fall's coming up and I'm thinking about this a little bit ahead of schedule, trying to get some space in here to put my truck. So I've been cleaning the barn out, hauled a bunch of trash out of here already. Got to do something with these tires. I may end up putting these tires on the Super Duty. And then I can just store the factory ones away somewhere, get them out of the way. But yeah, anyhow, you know, I got plenty of space here. And last year actually got a electric garage door opener put in with a keypad over here. So it'll be pretty handy in the winter time. I won't have to scrape ice or snow. I can just walk out here and jump in the truck and leave and close the door behind me. So that'll be super nice. One of the things you have to consider when you go to a heavy duty, you know, and obviously the main reason for that is just that all of the heavy duty trucks have a minimum of a 6.5 foot box on them. Whereas on a half-ton truck, you can get a 5.5 foot box. And that 12 inches makes a big difference when it comes to fitting it in a residential garage. So since all of these heavy duty trucks have a longer bed on them, it's just, there's no configuration that you can get in a heavy duty that will fit in a standard residential garage. It's just part of it, you know. One of those things that, you know, like I said, you have to understand going into the purchase. And I did. I knew that going in. But like I said, thankfully I've got another option here. So that'll be great. So I'm continuing to catch up on maintenance on this truck because, like I said, other than engine oil and oil filter changes, I really don't know much of anything about the history of the service on this thing. So I've already done, you know, the fuel filters the other day, got all that done, cleaned the engine air filter. I'm going to get a new one pretty soon, and just kind of checked everything over. I greased the only 2 grease zerks that are on these F-250s are up there in the front on the half shafts. The U-joints in the axle shafts actually have grease fittings on them. But those are the only two grease fittings on this entire truck. So there's really nothing to, keep lubed up. And then yesterday I did the rear differential. So this truck has the Sterling 10.5. And so I went ahead and did this. It was pretty quick and easy. These are 13mm bolts. Since I have an electric ratchet, it made it super easy. One thing that's a little different about this, but it's not a big deal, is that these Sterling axles have a steel ring. Instead of just having the inspection cover alone, it's got the inspection cover, and then it's got a steel ring that goes around here. I don't know exactly what the purpose of that is, but like I said, just something to watch out for. It's not a big deal. 13mm bolts, electric ratchet will run those out real quick. When you get inside these Sterling axles, you'll notice that down here in the bottom, there's almost a little bit of a sump that you'll have to get in there with some blue shop towels and clean out, because old axle fluid settles down in those pockets and it won't drain out on its own when you take the cover off. So make sure that you take a blue shop towel and get down in there and dry all that up and clean everything out. The magnet is on the fill plug on these axles, which is on the front of the differential. You can't see it from here, but it's on the front driver's side. And when you take that fill plug out, in my case, it was covered in sludge and, metallic gunk had built up on the magnet. So obviously you got to clean that off real well. But being a Super Duty, these things sit up real high and it leaves you a lot of space to work under here. So it wasn't really a big deal at all to take this inspection cover off. There's no sway bar in the way or anything like that. You can just take this off real easy, clean everything up, inspect your ring and pinion gears, make sure there's no missing teeth or chunks laying in the bottom of the housing or anything like that. And put some silicone around there. After you scrape all the old silicone off, just put some new silicone on there, button it back up, and you can start filling through the fill port over here on the front. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Now, one thing I will note is that the owner's manual calls for 80W90. Some people feel like you should use 140. I guess you can do either. If you're towing a lot, I would probably use the 140 weight gear oil just to give you more heat protection. But I'm not going to be towing a whole lot. I mean, I do tow with this truck, and the funny thing is, since I brought this truck home a couple of weeks ago, I've towed with it like constantly. But normally I don't tow a lot, so I went ahead and went by the owner's manual and put the 80W90 back in here. I don't think it'll hurt either way, but just FYI on that, there's some differing opinions on which fluid you should actually use on these, despite the fact that the manual used to call for 140 on this axle, and in these later years, they've switched to 90 weight on the same axle. So now I got to figure out how to do the front. I wish it had a drain plug on the front, but I don't think it does. Yeah, doggone it, there's no drain plug on it. So it looks like the front axle is going to be just like the rear axle. You can see the fill plug is on the front of the inspection cover there. That is one difference, this being a Dana axle. They always put the fill plugs on the inspection covers. So make sure you take that fill plug out first. That's the first thing you want to do. That way you can be sure that you can put fluid back in it when you're done. Once you get the fill plug out, I'll just have to go around there. It looks like those might be 15mm, but I'll just zip around there with my electric ratchet, take those out, and repeat the process. It's pretty straightforward. Doesn't look very difficult. But like I said, I sure do wish it had a drain plug. That would make the front so much easier. And then I guess after I get the axles done, the next order of business will be the transfer case. Now you got a drain and you got a fill over there. So again, this is really simple to do. Take your fill plug out first, then take the drain plug out, drain it all out. These are supposed to have Mercon LV. I do have a quart of Mercon LV, so I guess I'll buy another quart and use that. Ford did have a fluid called transfer case fluid, is what it was called. And you can use that if you've got some of that, but don't use standard Mercon. Make sure you have the LV, because I've heard that these transfer cases do not like the older Mercon automatic transmission fluid. They don't like it at all. So I'll go ahead and get that done. And at that point, the only thing that will be left is the old torque shift transmission down there. And I was thinking for some reason that this one had a drain plug on it, but upon closer inspection, it actually does not have a drain plug on it. So when I go to do the trans filter and fluid, I probably will put a drain plug on that so that in the future, it'll be a lot easier. Yeah, I mean, what's that old saying? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, or something like that. So anyway, maintenance goes a long way, and they always say that fluids and filters are really cheap compared to replacing hardware. So I plan to maintain this truck meticulously, see how many miles I can get out of it, keep this truck for a long while, but pretty soon we're going to be doing some more jobs with it, and I'm going to hook it up to the enclosed trailer. It did a great job with that open deck trailer the other day, but I want to see how it's going to pull this enclosed trailer compared to the Ram. It should be great, but we're going to find out very soon. So stay around for that. And as always, I appreciate you watching. I'm going to get back in the barn and do a little more cleaning, some fall cleaning. So we'll see you guys later.